In one age, called the Third Age by some,
An age yet to come.
an age long past,
A wind rose on the Geek at Arms podcast.
the wind was not the beginning,
There are neither beginnings,
nor endings to the turning of the Wheel of Time.
but it was a beginning.
Welcome to Woolheads, a Wheel of Time podcast by Geek at Arms. I'm Brian, and here's a man that I think surely must be Taviran. It's James.
The light illume you, Brian.
And you as well, James. So today we're talking Daughter of the Night. This fourth episode of Season 2 starts to show us how the relationships that were so unsettled, I can speak, at the beginning of the season are going to evolve. One hopes that they'd turn into something healthier and more mature, but if they did that, where's the drama?
Yeah. We get a very striking scene right off the bat. And with the entrance of what we've come to find is Lanfear, the title character, Daughter of the Night. Soaked in blood, and, it's a low effects scene, but wow.
And the location for that shot was really striking. I'm honestly surprised that we haven't seen more production shooting in Eastern Europe because these landscapes are fantastic.
Well, there is something kind of going on over there right now.
And there has been for the last century or so, I guess. But still, filmmakers have a lot of money. You'd think that they would see these landscapes and say, "Hey, I want that for my movie."
And honestly, if they don't mind, a change in the scenery, like literally the scenery is changing because of explosions, they could probably film out there super cheap right now.
But this canyon, from what I read, is near the border between the Czech Republic and Poland.
Okay.
And it's absolutely beautiful. Those 5 spires up above Ishamael's head were just amazing to see.
Very cool. And from one striking scene to another, we instantly go into what, in my opinion, is one of the best shots of both Tar Valon and especially the tower itself throughout the entire series.
The detail on that was exquisite. I mean, they had certainly tons of post-production time to do the rendering, and it really shows.
I mean, as someone who is so much into VFX as you are, and as much experience as you have had, were you a little nitpicky at times, or was it just like, wow, they spent their time on that? That's a beautiful piece of work.
The latter. I mean, it was noise-free, high key, and doing something that's primarily white is difficult. I mean,
Really?
yeah, you kind of need color or texture to make things look real. When you have something that is white, it looks untextured, it looks unfinished. But the level of detail and the micro details in the tower really, really sell it as a real place, a real physical place. I mean, it does not look like a CG rendering to me.
No, me neither. Usually I've grown to really dislike a lot of these twisting overhead shots that are becoming the norm in so many TV shows. Well, what were my wife and I watching? Strange New Worlds. You'd get this scene would open and it's the exterior shot of the Enterprise, except it's upside down. And the camera zooms in as the Enterprise twists around it, and then we go sideways, and then we zoom into a window, and that's where the scene is set. And I'm like, okay, first I'm going to throw up, and then I'll unpause, and we can come back to the show.
I think part of that is one of the rules in visual effects is that you don't try to render a shot that a real camera couldn't do. But now we've got all of these drone shooting shots, and they're finding out, hey, we can do all of these crazy, weird camera moves with drones flying through the air. And so no holds barred on the all holds barred. This is the most boring wrestling match ever. No holds barred on the cinematography. We're just going to do whatever we want.
An all holds barred wrestling match is actually just rock, paper, scissors.
Well, the Corridor crew did a recent video on rock, paper, scissors. It was very dynamic.
I saw that. That was fun.
Yeah. But this shot was just an overhead, just flying over the top. So there wasn't any crazy motion. It looked like
it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a shot that if they put that on a poster, I'd buy it.
Yeah, I might too. It's really huge on my wall behind me when I'm taking calls for work.
There you go. What is that, Brian? I'm so glad you asked. Speaking of small, minor details, I made a comment a couple of episodes ago about the clothing and the garb in this show. In this episode, I want to walk some of that back because there was a lot of very beautiful clothing, colorful, smallest of details, looked like hand-woven trim, colorful, natural fibers. You see them on these beautiful clothing on these happy children running around playing, and the adults, a community eating together. It was very nicely done, and it's so refreshing to see that in a medieval-esque fantasy show where no one is wearing 50 Shades of Brown.
Yeah, I admit I don't really notice the costuming as much as you do. I did wonder exactly how much weight of wire was in that dress Moraine was wearing.
Boning. That's just plastic boning all throughout.
Having recently done a little bit of work in kneading stiffened fabrics, I know how much effort that takes, and yeah, there must have been a lot under there because it's all rigid. Shoulders, skirt, all of it.
What's the actress's name?
Rosamund Pike.
Rosamund Pike. What we don't know is that she is just built like a brick house. She is solid muscle.
Well, we know exactly how she's built with as much time as she spends in the bathtub.
One every 2 episodes. That's in her contract. Another point about the garb I wanted to make is that while I am partial to the look and the cut of clothing from medieval Europe, the clothes in this show are from a much wider cultural spectrum. And I like it.
Yeah, me too.
And that's not just the clothes. You see that in the architecture and in how they borrow from various Eastern cultures as well. And I think that makes it a show that will be much more will be enjoyable by far more people than just like your standard, pseudo medieval fantasy crowd.
I think I want to do just a study of patterns in decorative mullions in windows. Just comparing cultures, like this is what the windows look like in Shinar, and this is what Kyrien's windows look like. And here they are in Darvalon.
Because boy, do we get a lot of shots of those.
Yeah, it's like all of these windows have these really elaborate mullions in them, which they're gorgeous. I love them, but I imagine it makes it really easy for tracking, motion tracking.
Either that or there was a sale somewhere, and they just buy them all. What about curtains? We've got no budget for curtains.
No curtains. Just these wooden frame things that go on top of the window. No stained glass either. Just these things.
That's right. I talk about the clothing of the people who looked like very much like a part of a community. I also liked that we got to see people actually eating and drinking together. We talked about this last night. We don't see people eating in TV shows or movies hardly ever, for a very good reason. They're having to do multiple takes time and time and time again. So either one, the food, which probably didn't start out that great to begin with, it's going to get even worse, or the person's just going to get stuffed.
Did you ever listen to the audio commentary on the first Spider-Man movie?
No, I didn't.
Oh, they were talking about the Thanksgiving dinner, and they've got this massive turkey in the middle of the table. And they said that after they were working on the scene for 3 days under the studio lighting, and that was a real turkey. And they said by the end of it, it smelled so bad, nobody could stand to be in the room with it anymore.
Why didn't they get a new turkey?
Continuity? I don't know.
Oh. No, the new turkey, the color palette won't match the one we had from yesterday. Well, that doesn't matter. It's going to get gross. It's going to cost $150,000 more in effects to get the colors right.
Right.
Never mind.
At that point, it probably would.
Bring back the trash turkey.
Very early digital effects.
We blew it all, making Tobey Maguire look good in spandex. But here we get to see people actually eating, actually drinking together, and
it looked tasty.
It did look good. The food in this series, the close-ups that we get of it, looks very good, very real as well. And I bet you it was the director's like, all right, we get one take at this, okay? That's it.
Because the crew's going to eat all of this right after. It's not going to make it.
I only have 2 more production notes. I like that we finally get a scene past the foregate in Carrion, and on the bad side, the poor side, or the refugee side of the foregate, it's all these ramshackle buildings that look like they've been put together with cast-off, mismatched pieces of lumber and fabric, and very much a fire hazard, which we found out in this episode. But also, we see past the foregate into Carrion proper, and very different looking houses and buildings. Actually, kind of what I envisioned Carrion and architecture to look like.
Yeah, they're really getting the character of the city with the straight lines. Everything is geometric in Carrion.
Yes. Finally, thankfully, this was a bit more of a Rand-heavy episode. And as he and Selene are going on their, cabin vacation, we get a close-up of his baldric.
Oh, yeah.
And those
herons.
2 beautiful brass herons as part of the buckle.
Very nice touch. I loved it.
Very, very nice touch. Also, kind of advertising what you got.
Yeah. Well, that's the point of a heron mark blade.
True, but that is the point of a heron mark blade. But Perrin, no, not Perrin. Although Perrin's been using a sword more than Rand has lately. Rand's not up to having a heron mark blade yet.
That's true.
So, I mean, if you don't got it, don't flaunt it.
Yeah. That does become, at least in the novel The Great Hunt, that did become a plot point where High Lord Turax sees the herons and says, I wonder what it takes to become a blade master on this side of the ocean. And if Rand's wearing his sword on his back, you don't really see the herons because they didn't put it on the handle, I don't think. Which in the books it must have been because that's how he got his brand.
Yeah. Well, also in the book, when the party comes to Andor, and it's a city in Camelin is a city divided. Some are for the queen, some are for someone else. And people had tied cloths, like a red piece of cloth or like a black piece of cloth, or blue or something.
Red or white.
Red or white. Okay, which side they were going to be on. And Rand took I think a red piece of cloth, and he tied it around the pommel. It showed that he had chosen a side, and no one looked at him strange because everyone was choosing sides. And it also covered the heron. And we get the real first reaction of what a heron-marked blade means, because after he climbs a wall to get a look at Logain, falls, and he meets the princess and the prince, and somehow through shenanigans he finds himself in the court, in the throne room, in front of Morghese, and
it was Elida.
Elida comes up and says, a young boy from the 2 rivers, a young boy with a heron-marked sword. And suddenly, it's like a pin. You could hear a pin drop in the throne room because everyone's like...
He was surrounded by 20 soldiers, all of whom thought they were about to die.
Yeah. Because they thought, this isn't just a country bumpkin. He's got a heron-marked sword. He's a blade master. We're hoes, but we're going to die protecting the queen. So, that being said, listeners, if you haven't realized yet that heron-marked blades are kind of a big deal in this world, they are. So much that we've spent the last 5 minutes even talking about the buckle.
Right. And the point being that having it on the buckle means that people will be able to see that he's claiming to be a blade master, at least.
It's kind of a little a subtle way of saying, do not mess with.
Yeah. Unless you're one of those people that kept picking fights with Miyamoto Musashi.
Well, did you have anything else for production?
No, that covered everything for me.
All right. So, Copland talk.
Yeah. I am still not sold on the wolf vision thing.
I totally am not.
Even seeing it in better context, it's like I liked seeing Hopper. That's it's Hopper.
That made me happy.
Coming. Yeah, but it still's like, And if that's what was going on in the flies scene, what was there a wolf in the room watching that happen?
Yeah, seriously.
I just don't.
Who sent that if not one of the other wolves?
And Perrin's story in general hasn't been resonating with me.
It's been that way with me for the beginning.
Yeah, I like Perrin, and I liked what they did at the beginning with him, as I mentioned. But I don't know. He had this big speech about vengeance to Ingtar in the first or second episode, but I haven't seen the tension to balance that.
Vengeance was never something that was on Perrin's mind in the books. He was not a vengeance type of guy until a certain point came, which we're not going to talk about.
Okay.
But at that point, the story and his character had built, and so much had happened that his quest for vengeance was understandable. At this point, it is not.
Yeah.
I still feel like I love the gentleman who they got to play Perrin.
Yeah.
He's doing a great job with what he's been given. But I still feel like the writers are kind of doing my boy wrong.
I think they're trying to shoehorn too much of the original books into his plot lines, and they should just do the same thing they're doing with Rand and Matt and just say, okay, we have the seed, and we're going to do what's right for Perrin here instead of putting the entire Great Hunt onto his character the way they're doing.
That's not fair for him. One minor point, and this goes to the Red Sister, whose name I want to say Elayne every time, but Liandrin, thank you. Can Aes Sedai get pregnant?
They can, but they don't generally. I think they have some method of preventing a pregnancy if they wish to.
Okay.
But most of the time, based on what I remember, it was a matter of they just don't marry. They're married to whatever their particular work is. And somebody at some point, they specifically mentioned one of the White Sisters had suggested that Aes Sedai should start being forced to have children because we're culling out the ability to channel from the entire population.
Well, fewer and fewer sisters have been coming to the tower every year.
And I remember that specifically because everybody's like, oh, no, that's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't remember. And the fact that we see her with a son that she had 90 years ago. One, I don't know if I ever read an account of, even if they can't get pregnant, of an Aes Sedai having a child in the books, and also the fact that they're showing that it's a Red Sister having a child and a son, no less. You understand where I'm going.
Yeah. I do wonder what the timing is on her accession to Aes Sedai. Did she have this child before she became Aes Sedai? While she was a novice or something, carrying on with a servant? Who knows?
She made, in her conversations with Nynaeve, it made her sound like that she did it because she wanted to have something in this world that was 100% totally hers. And, I don't know. I don't know.
I'll be interested to see if it goes somewhere interesting, or if it's just, we're trying to just humanize Liandrin. But this is something that ties her back to Tar-Valon if she has to go into hiding because, eventually Egwene and Elayne are going to come back to the tower.
Yeah.
And she's going to have to run away or do something about it. But that will set up a tension for her she's still got to try and balance that to get her son out.
Yeah.
Or maybe he'll have died by then because he obviously doesn't look like he's in great shape.
Nope.
Particularly if mom keeps poisoning him.
So, honestly, maybe it's not 90. Maybe he's actually just like 38. She's just a really bad mother.
Well, that could be. I was about to shout at the screen with the Min talking to Ishamael. I'm like, no, Min is not a dark friend.
No, not at all.
No.
Speaking of Min, she was going to be my next thing.
Mm-hmm.
Her visions.
Mm-hmm.
In the book, they're described as much more symbolic,
Yeah,
metaphorical, and instead of just showing straight, here's exactly what's going to happen in your future.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
because half the time she doesn't even, more than half
you're
the time
going to
she doesn't
die.
even know what it
You're going to be
means.
covered in blood. You're stabbing Rand. I don't like what they're doing with this.
Yeah, I think they're making them too literal.
Mm-hmm. And as someone who has a very literal personality, even I found that too much.
Yeah.
It closes off an area of fun speculation and wonder and curiosity for the watchers.
Yeah.
What is this image we're seeing? What does this mean?
What does it mean that Matt's putting one of his eyes on a balance scale?
Exactly.
Apologies to Joy.
So, yeah, but the whole scene with Ishamael, I'm like, no, not liking that. We do get to see more of Rand, more of Rand fighting. Well, some of Rand fighting. He's a horrible swordsman. And at this point in the books, he was not. He was getting better.
Yeah.
Because he was being trained by Land, but we already talked about
Didn't
that.
get that, so he's just got this old man in the sanitarium who's maybe teaching him the right things.
He's like, I was taught by a blade master. Were you? He kind of waved his cane around. That's really all I've got. He and Selene are attacked by a midroll.
Mm-hmm.
And after the midroll is burnt to a crisp by Rand's first purposeful channeling, are they just not going to ask how a midroll found them?
Well, Rand probably should. Selene already knows, obviously.
Yeah, but
My big question is, why were they sleeping on the ground when that cabin was right behind them?
yeah, I have slept on the ground before. And let me tell you, it's not all it's cracked up to be. Yeah. And it's not cracked up to be a whole lot. And I don't care how pretty the lady is. It's like, oh, let's sleep under the stars. You sleep under the stars. I'm going to a pillow.
Yes.
But he wipes it out, and I know he's about to tell, but still, you nearly died, dude. Mm-hmm. It's not like, a bear wandered into camp. Okay? It's a midroll, a fade, a lurk. It found you, and these things usually don't travel alone. Why are you like, let's head back to the cabin now? You know my deepest secret.
Yeah. Well, that's over. I'm glad there was only one.
Yeah. And, I mean, we know why there was only one.
Right.
And that leads to my final bit of Copland talk.
Rand's never been real bright, though, even in the books.
Yeah. You see that, her name's not Selene, through some very clever voiceover from the others who have found the prophecy. Or maybe not a prophecy, but just it's more like a headstone inscription.
Right.
Of over her seal. And the daughter of the night, she comes forth. What's she described in the books as being the most powerful of the Forsaken?
She was second only to Ishamael.
Gotcha. So she is straddling Rand, and suddenly I was like, I have a secret to tell you. I'm a monster too. And I'm like, kind of killing the romance here, love. It's not what you want to tell the dude after you've tied him up. Well, first off, don't tie him up. Secondly, don't say, I'm a monster too, because they could go a lot of weird ways. But then, like, the air around her starts to shimmer, and you get an idea something bad is coming next. And then we see what's coming next, a sword through her chest, which for a moment, I thought that she was doing some type of weird one-power visual thing to show what she was. Because they spent the whole, like, the blood rhyme, or the and, like, blood within blood. I don't know.
Blood calls blood.
Blood calls blood. So she's going to cover herself with blood or what. I kind of thought that's where it was going. But then she gets her head pulled back, and it's Moiraine has found them. And so apparently a sword through the heart and a cut throat, like ear to ear, still doesn't kill a Forsaken?
Yeah, them being physically invulnerable, I think that's a really bad change.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's going to turn them into Terminators. They're not.
Yeah.
They're threatening. Their primary threat comes from the manipulation. They're smart. They know all about the one power, not because they can't be
They're strong in the power, stronger than most modern Aes Sedai, but their main danger is that knowledge that all the rest have completely forgotten.
Mm-hmm. They still got to have that paranoid of somebody sticking me with a sword can still kill me.
What is that line from the Vlad Taltos novels? I don't care if you're the mightiest warrior, the smartest general, the savviest politician. A knife between the shoulder blades will still seriously cramp your style.
Yes. Vlad knows much.
Mm-hmm. We could use him right now. Well, that's all I had for Copland talk.
I think that's about everything I had, too. I did want to say I thought that Liandrin's treachery was too abrupt.
Agreed.
It wanted at least a couple more lines before she blasted everybody. That scene didn't fit together. In my opinion, very well.
It did not. But let's talk about some changes in the pattern that we did like. We know so little of Moiraine in the books. Mm-hmm. They piece out her backstory just bit by bit. I really enjoyed that we got to see her ancestral home.
Yeah.
More about her family and her little sister.
Yes.
Who she looks much younger than, which was a nice twist I enjoyed.
And I liked that the person who approached Rand at the party happens to be Moraine's sister. It's like, in any other show, with any other character, I would say that's too much of a coincidence. But Ta'Veren. So they can get away with so much because of that.
Plot armor? No, it's Ta'Veren. Back to the tower. So beautifully shot.
Before we get off of Moiraine.
Sorry, yes.
She's coming out of her funk, but she's still brittle. We can see it. Pike continues to really impress me with her ability to emote powerfully without saying anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just the tension around her eyes tells us, she's in a place where nobody knows that she can't channel any here. I mean, everybody assumes she's still Aes Sedai, but she has to be twice the Aes Sedai to make up for it. And just her performance is...
I really enjoyed her interaction with Logain. She knows enough about him. She even takes him a bottle of Galden Red.
Yeah, that was a nice touch.
And like you said, as far as everyone knows, she can still channel.
Mm-hmm.
And he sees her, not happy to see her. He's laid much of the blame for his present circumstance on her.
Mm-hmm.
And they're circling each other, verbally and physically. And she's on the back step because she knows she can't channel and she does not want this to turn physical.
Right.
But she's doing it in such a calm and subtle way, just matching him step for step while trying to stay in charge of the conversation. Because he's the last person who can ever know she can't channel right now.
Yeah.
Which is also, I think, half of the reason why she brought the knife out.
Yeah, that was brilliant. There's it looks like she's offering him the knife to kill himself, but she's using it for self-defense.
Yeah, it's
brilliant.
Well, if an Aes Sedai can use something to make one point, it can serve two.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very Aes Sedai thing.
Or half a dozen.
Yeah, or half a dozen. So protection and to get his attention.
Mm-hmm.
So the focus is no longer on her; it's on the knife. I will leave this with you if you do everything I ask you to do.
Right.
Man, if you perform this hard and difficult task, I will leave you the means to kill yourself. If that's not an Aes Sedai twist, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
But speaking of Aes Sedai, I've been loving the scenes in the tower that we've been getting of the daily life of the novices and the accepted. It's really enjoyable to see because we don't get a lot of that in the books. So even though they're having to take time to do it in the show, I've enjoyed how they've incorporated it. Especially in the burgeoning friendship between Egwene and Elayne, which is a strong one in the books. And it's creating that foundation for what the two will go through together later, or very soon now.
Right.
I'm going to kind of speed through these because we're at 29 minutes. More wolf training. Yay! So we got to see Hopper. Still, you don't like the weird wolf visions, but I'm happy that Perrin is among the wolves and is learning that about himself. I liked the effect of Elias's eyes are that golden color now all the time. Perrin's switch
Right.
back and forth.
Using his powers, they turn. Part of that, I'm sure, is budget because they don't want to do eye glows on him constantly. And contacts just don't work.
No. So, but it's enjoyable.
Maxime is turning into my favorite character. He's really bad at being a warder. It's like he can't meditate. He can't handle having Alanna in his head. I'm just hoping that they're going to balance that with maybe this is more theory crafting than changing the pattern, but he's going to turn out to be just some amazing warrior, battle rage.
He lasted for 10 minutes that time. Personal best.
He's got some great lines.
He does.
I'm loving him more and more.
We talked earlier how we did not like the encounter between Min and Ishamael. But, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that they are meeting at Teleron Riod.
You think?
She was having a dream that she was back with her sisters, and they were using her to see visions for money. And she, without moving in that same place, suddenly that line of people
was disjointed. That was weird.
All those people who were there are suddenly gone, and it's Ishamael sitting across from her.
That could make sense.
So I think that was our first look into the world of dreams. He was using it to look into hers because he knew where she was going to be.
Right.
Because Elayne told him. So, yeah.
That makes sense. I'm still not sure why Liandrin and, by extension, Ishamael are sending Min and Mat to Carrion. I guess Ishamael probably knows that Rand is there because Lanfear is there. I'm just not sure what the motivation of sending them there. You'd think they'd want to keep them apart.
Maybe they don't realize that Mat and even Perrin are as strong a Ta'veren as Rand is.
Maybe so.
I mean, they've got so much focus on. Well, we know where the Dragon Reborn is.
We've identified the dragon. These other two guys don't matter as much.
But they're important enough. We want to know. We want all the eggs in one basket.
Right. We want the levers where we can reach them. I guess that makes sense.
So, anything else?
I did want to mention a little bit back to Lan and Alanna. That happened much later in the books. Moraine sending Lan, but that was because Moraine died.
Yeah. Well, did she actually send her the bond, or was because the way I understood it was that the bond just cut off, and so he's just cut off from her, and so now he's being sent. There was no transference of the bond between him and Moraine. He's just been kind of having to deal with it.
Yeah, I'm still not 100% on that one. I think that the bond is still there, but because she had masked it before she was stilled in air quotes, I think she was still merely shielded.
Agreed.
That he can't feel it anymore, but I think it's still there.
Agreed.
And
yeah.
Otherwise, she wouldn't have said that Perrin would take it by force.
Yeah.
If it didn't exist, then there would be nothing for Perrin.
No, it's still there. She's just shielded, but she doesn't know that.
Yeah.
For as far as she knows, she's been stilled. So.
But what I wonder, I think that means that probably we're not going to have Moraine getting killed, killing Lanfear. Because, I mean, I don't think she's really the main character. Rosamund Pike thinks she's the main character, but she is the biggest name on the cast, and she is very central to the story. And I don't think it would make sense to cut her out for 3/4 of the series.
Nope.
But it does leave me wondering about Lan's fate. I don't doubt he's going to end up bonded and married to Nynaeve eventually. But since she's still accepted, that's got to be kind of far off.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going to be going on with Lan in the meantime?
I don't know. I don't know.
Every time we make predictions, we're wrong. So,
so my first thing in future casting is I think that our heroes are going to meet either on the road or at Falm itself. Mm-hmm. Because from the teasers that we've seen, and with the fact that the Sion Shan are gathering in the west, that seems to be their central place, even though they're sending High Lady Suroth to tiny little fishing villages with
Yeah.
3 dozen people. All of it takes that many just to lift up her little pyramid that she travels around on. But anyway, I think that's where we'll be gathering next. We'll get
She's like the ultimate micromanager. 30 soldiers, somebody from the blood has to be in charge.
Well, see, that's what the extra long fingernails are for. They're pointers.
Well, they are. She was using them to communicate it. That was her.
Well, they also come
orders.
in handy during like budget meetings when she's pointing on the
Right, at the
on
chart.
the whiteboard.
This line is going down.
This one is going up. This one is staying level, which means you two are going to die. Where's the horn? That's why Uno was killed. He wasn't meeting the wasn't meeting the
It
budget.
was under quota.
Yes. I still think that it is going to be Matt who blows the Horn of Valere.
Yeah, I don't see anything that would indicate a need or reason to change that other than Matt not being there. But I think he will be there eventually.
Agreed. And my final future casting is that, not in this season, but season 3, first episode, front and center, Tom Maryland.
Oh, he better be.
Enough said. Need more Tom Maryland. It broke my heart when we found out last night that he wasn't in season 2 at all.
Yeah.
I've been holding out hope. And he was such a, well, not a central figure throughout the books. He was an enjoyable and wonderful secondary character who brought so much. And we need to see him.
To be fair, his roles in The Great Hunt and The Shadow Rising, or no, The Great Hunt and The Dragon Reborn is book 3, weren't very large, so he's not really as necessary at this point as he will be once we hit The Shadow Rising, and The Fires of Heaven when he's wandering around with Egwene, Nynaeve, and Elayne.
I hope to see that. I think that's it.
All right, well, the light illumine you and see you safe to your journey's end.